this is Pigsy doing another impromptu video. Just do a video. It's raining, it's pretty wet. I was just thinking about a few things. So I mentioned about stuff like angel feathers and stuff like that. I was watching a few sort of paranormal type videos and stuff more recently, but this morning in the early hours I had something had woken me up and I wasn't too sure if it was woken, maybe I was cold or whatever, and whether I rolled over, but I listened and there was it sounded like someone crunching a bag of crisps near me, or I didn't think too much of it. It sounded like maybe something sliding on the floor or something's pressing on there. I had like a work apron, because I always stick an apron in my pocket as a carrier. We can take a few aprons and gloves and all sorts of things. But it was very bizarre because there was just like, I say, this noise, and it sounded like a rustling, and then there was a bit more of it. And a creature would have sounded like that if it was creeping through it, but it wasn't anything. There's nothing in my property that would do that creature one. I've had a new door stuck on, so it's not like any gaps are under it. I'm not aware of anything, and plus if it was near food, it's more likely to be a kitchen. I sometimes hear noises, so I'm wondering if something in time might escalate. It depends what it is, why it's there. I mean, it's not sort of like I've never had things happen there. I mean, when I went away, one of the taps were on. I think, have I left the tap on? But it was lucky because I was away for a week, so when I come back, you know, if the sink was blocked or had any issues, it could have easily overflowed, which would have been a bit of an issue. So I guess there's something probably living there, an entity, and maybe it's more than one, or it's a bit more complicated. Often mirrors are seen as sort of doorways to these beings, and I'm kind of, I'd like to know more about them. To fully understand them. I mean, I've got some spiritual understandings about it, which I've gone into other videos, etc., about the jinn and maybe experiencing things throughout my life. It could be that you've got a certain frequency with your aura or where you are, something that makes you attractive to them. Maybe I just like glow a certain colour that's different from other people. So it might be something worth looking at. And also, when I go to, I might visit some more like graveyards. You don't have to visit them pitch black in the dark. What you're looking for is, do you sense any kind of energy there? And there might be a portal or something. And then you've got to kind of meditate or a sense beyond that. And you don't want to necessarily attract something that's negative, but I also think there's something else I was watching about some Ouija stuff. And it said that he asked who the spirit was. He said, I'm not human, I am you. And I thought, what does that mean? And because there's a group of people combined in their consciousness, entwining it is a part of that. It's being seeded by it. I mean, it could even be that it might lack. It might be a bit like a computer in a sense, or an AI lacks sort of personality. Because there's odd things some of these spiritual beings are doing. They're like they're doing stuff like banging doors, and that's something that's interesting. I wondered if something that they build up when they engage with something physically, they can build up more ability to manipulate it, just by exposure or something. Which means there must be some sort of a magnetic quality there. I mean, there might be some things that they're weak to. Like, it could be magnetism. It could even be electricity. They might feed off it, but they also sort of engage with it, and they kind of get a bit aggressive with it as well. They just like to keep turning lights on and off, on and off. So it's very robotic. It's like almost childlike or something. And it may gain some of its personality from the people it's around as well. This is what engages with certain people more than others. Otherwise, you know, it might lay dormant. It might lay dormant for ages, like, you know, centuries or something. It could be they've done something to the property that's sort of incited it, this activity. As for me, I don't know. It's because maybe I feel like I'm being observed sometimes, and the being's picking up on myself. And if I'm more interested in it, it's more interested in me. and maybe it's gaining some of its character from me, almost like I would say the AI, it's learning from me, but it might lack certain perceptions that you can gain from a living host. So it's like a spiritual autism for the disembodied spirit. I mean, maybe it's in a lesser form, and it has to heal itself at some degree and develop itself. Because I noticed other things with watching. I was watching Really Haunted or something like that, and there's some other things as well where you think, well, okay, you know, it could be. What's that? Traffic's very slow today. Wonder why? Because all these lights and bloody roadworks everywhere. So I've still got time. Yeah, it's just that it tends to. Well, so the signs are it grows in strength. Someone says you shouldn't engage with it, and maybe engagement accelerates the process. It might bond in some way, but it doesn't know what it is fully. It's kind of like sentient in some level, but in the presence of another form, because it's gaining some sort of energy or something, catalyst maybe that brings it. So consciousness raises its frequency of consciousness, maybe. So it's probably using the person for some energy or some form. Oh, that one again. Oh. So something for me to establish, like, okay, so I've just woken up slightly, I've rolled over, and then I'm hearing these sorts of, I can't really make the noise, I'm hearing something like that, and but with plastic, I'm hearing a bit of that, and it sounds like someone's squeezing it in their hands. But I was also thinking maybe something's next to me, and it stood on it, and it actually just made noises. Some of these things they must have to engage physically at some level. But why? They're able to manipulate their form so they're virtually nothing, but they have some kind of physical form or energy or the way to transmit themselves. So really what I'm trying to figure out is if there's Newtonian physics in that there's electricity and magnetism, or are they some sort of interdimensional thing and they're manipulating gravity at some force we don't fully understand. Could do that because it gets so steamed up in it. So there might be more to it. There's definitely evidence to say something going on in some people's lives. Now I saw some stuff where there's like a pan come up and bang, picked up a pan, he just did a runner. I'd be interested to know. And also they tend to, this is the other thing about the connection, is that sometimes when you've got people there, they say, can you move the ball? Can you move the ball? And the thing does it. If it has if it's completely so it's maybe it's codependent with the host. Maybe it presents the bond it has as well. It wants to be separated. It can't exist without this person's energy being around it. Just sort of trying to figure out things I've seen. Because, well, basically, if you can command something to a degree, then you've got a certain amount of ownership. And if it's doing things to family members, maybe you're holding a grudge or resentment. Maybe you had an argument with your partner a few days ago and it tried to put her out of bed. It's because it's acting in interest, or maybe it has an obsession with that person and it doesn't want things to come between that, which means it's insecurity. And so really you need to make a pact with it. So you really got the option is that I don't mind you being here as long as you don't do anything to harm me or my family, and you know, because it wants to reside or live somewhere. And it doesn't want to be threatened in some way. Or maybe that it's just got kind of a, I don't know, not exactly allergy to humans, but humans that find them difficult in some way, or they make them uncomfortable. But I've also noticed in places where the animals have been set off, there's been animals that are in the property that are unaffected by the beings, or there's been a video where somebody had a fight with a cat, saw the cat going, the cat looked like it landed on some hot coals. It was flying all over the place. Not unless it got something in its foot, but it was really gone ballistic, and then the other animals circled around to wonder what's going on. So maybe I should look into poltergeist lore, look into Islamic lore of jinn, do some studies, because I seem to be a bit more open-minded to something. I mean, simply, if you reported something in the Middle Ages in the UK, they would probably say, oh, it's a possession, or it's magic, or it's like witchcraft, or whatever, and you could put yourself at risk. That's why anything you'd have to see as positive, or if you take a negative form on it, you just have to be very careful. You've got to be aware of what's happened socially. You know, if they're looking for witches and things in the area, and someone says something, somebody might take that story and say, they did that. And then, what do you mean they did that? They said, yeah, there was a haunting, and I'm sure this person summoned that spirit and a ghost or whatever, a demon it was, you know, or something like that. So they might have just kept snoosh about these things. But why places like the Islamic face slightly different view on that? Maybe I should look at also Judaism. What's their views on that? So, but they allow a kind of bit of equality to a certain degree with the jinn. They acknowledge they exist, and that's why something about treading on snakes or stuff like that. Be careful that it's not a jinn, because I think if you had hurt someone like that, it could backfire seriously. So I don't know, but yeah, it's a mystery of that kind of rattling in the morning. I mean, I just pretended I was asleep because I just wanted to see what happened. I thought, that's weird. It sounds like something, like I say, rattling something. It was sort of broken up. I mean, there could be other things that would cause that. It could have been like a draft, could have been something fell on top of it, something moved a crate or something, it slid. You know, me rolling over could have caused some effect in the room. But when I stopped moving, it continued on a little bit longer, and then it just went. But who knows? I might have to. I mean, I could set up things in my property like wind chimes or things that the entity would engage with, objects of interest. I've got a bit of that going on. You know, it's almost like we do with cats, and you put a thing there, it might, like a bell, it might knock with its paw or something. He says these things can engage with it. Or maybe it's training itself in its psychokinetic abilities, it's realising that it has some abilities and it's not really using them much because it doesn't need to, it just walks through things. Bloody thing, don't it? Who knows? Right, anyway, this is Pixie finishing this video as I'm driving to my other job, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!